Welcome to Ridgecrest Talk, where we have thoughtful conversation with people in our community and get to share it with our viewers. I'm your host, Tonia Pyle. Our guest today from the Bureau of Land Management is Gonzo Chaidez. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, great name, by the way, Gonzo. That's a great name. And law enforcement and ranger, or law enforcement ranger with the Bureau of Land Management. So, what kind of background do you have to be a law enforcement ranger with the Bureau of Land Management?
Some type of public safety
Police
position.
Academy, is that one?
It helps.
Okay.
Yes, it does. And sometimes experienced military police. Yes, you do need experience to get hired.
Reserve or something of that nature?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, but you don't have to have actually gone through an academy, or you're saying you do have to have that formal training of some
You
sort?
don't have that training because the Bureau puts you through it.
Oh.
We go through FLETC, which is in Georgia, same as most federal agencies.
FLEXI.
FLETC, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center.
Uh-huh. And how long is that?
It's 3 months long.
Oh.
And then that's the initial training, and then you have 3 months of field training. So they put you through the basic police type training, and then they send you out in the field for 3 months to evaluate you.
Mm-hmm. And what about physical ability? Is that tested during that time?
Not only during the time, but you have to pass a physical every year, including an agility test. We are one of few agencies in the country that do that.
The Bureau of Land Management, law enforcement.
Yes.
Okay. Rangers.
For example, you have to run a mile and a half. You have to do an agility, stuff like that.
A mile and a half might not be bad. 3 miles is pushing it, but certainly not in the heat we've been having lately. And so, did you always want to be in some type of law enforcement, or just be outside, or what was it for you that made you want to be a ranger, a law enforcement
Well, I always
ranger?
wanted to be in law enforcement. I had an older cousin that was a police officer in the LA area, and he told me about his adventures on the job. And I thought, wow, that sounds like an exciting job. So
Not scared. So you're not scared.
no, not really.
Okay.
So I looked into it as a teenager. Went to the Navy. The first thing I did was go to the Navy when I turned 18, because you can't get hired at most agencies until you're 21. So I thought, well, that's a good start for life, is start out in the Navy. That's what I did. I did my first enlistment, and then I was hired. I went through the police academy. I was hired by 2 police departments, which I worked before the Bureau, and then went to FLETC. No matter what agency you've been through, you have to have that FLETC training.
You did that on your own? They don't put you through that? That's something you chose to do and had to go through on your own?
The primary one, yes.
Okay.
But when I got hired by the Bureau, they sent me through a second one, which is, like I said, in Georgia.
When you enlisted in the Navy, where were you? Did you serve?
I was stationed in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
That's where I'm from.
Okay. All right. How'd you end up in Ridgecrest?
The BLM.
Okay.
I transferred here from El Centro. That was my initial station, and then I transferred up here. It's a lot less hectic up here. It gets
Yes.
it's pretty busy down on the border.
Right.
So over 7 years of that, I thought that was
a lot of
that was
issues
enough.
there. A lot of issues there. Right. Where were you born and raised?
San Diego.
Okay. Okay, so you're a California native.
Yes.
All right. And how long have you been in Ridgecrest?
Over 5 years total.
Oh, okay. That's kind of young, as Ridgecresters go, right? Wouldn't you say?
I guess so, yeah. I still don't know a lot about Ridgecrest.
And, well, because I've lived here now since November 2011, and I consider myself pretty much a newbie, although it's kind of relative because I was involved with the public affairs with Ridgecrest, so I felt that I knew it, but it's much different when you live here. But what's the thing you like most about being a law enforcement ranger?
You get to patrol beautiful areas. We got the Sierras, the deserts, the mountain ranges towards Death Valley National Park.
There's got to be a lot of mileage you cover for your range. I mean, what all are you expected to cover of that?
Well, this office manages over 2 million acres of public land. So you can imagine. I mean, we stretch from L.A. County all the way up to the north part of Death Valley National Park.
And so how many of you are there who, not you, but how many law enforcement rangers are there with our Ridgecrest BLM?
We're supposed to have 9 rangers.
Mm-hmm. And the reality is?
We have 2.
Covering 2 million?
Over 2 million acres, yes.
You're responsible for all of that?
Pretty much, yes.
Whoa, that's quite a range. But
a lot of mileage on vehicles, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're getting ready to take a little break, but before we do, okay, so that you said what you liked the most. Has it ever been scary for you?
I've had incidents where, especially working on the border, taking people down at gunpoint.
Okay, that's enough. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get into that specifics later in our conversation. We'll be right back after this brief break. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk with our guest from the Bureau of Land Management Law Enforcement Ranger, Gonzo Chaidez. And you were just telling us that you've had to use your weapon, and this is what law enforcement people are called to do. But and when I met you, I was at the Bureau of Land Management, and you had just come in. I was talking to the field manager, Carl Simon, and Robert Pavelik, and you came by and had just done a search and rescue. So it's kind of an adventurous type of occupation. So, which always surprises me when I think that the people who collect most on their insurance are people who are music conductors. You would think it would be law enforcement that are out there facing the dangers, especially the rough terrain of our desert area. But tell us about some stories you've had where were you involved in the recent, a lot of law enforcement got involved in the search for the man who was just found in Yokern.
Yes, we assisted on some days, but the Kern County is the primary, the primary agency for that search.
Okay.
So we basically assisted on stuff to free up their deputies to go search.
Because that was what, 24/7
Yes.
until it ended?
Yes.
Okay, so you were available.
For example, we conducted an escort for the repeater radio guys to go and fix a repeater.
Mm-hmm.
We did stuff to free the deputies.
Uh-huh.
So they can concentrate on looking for the subject.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if they needed anything else, backup, we would be there for them, and we were.
Okay, but your jurisdiction is specifically the Bureau of Land Management territory.
Yes, that's our responsibility,
Okay.
is public lands.
Okay.
But we can assist other agencies.
Sure. When they need to call in
Yeah,
the forces,
uh,
extra
if-
forces.
For example, if a Ridgecrest PD is doing a traffic stop and he asks me to come and help, I can help.
Oh.
We are law enforcement officers.
Would they do that for a traffic stop?
Oh yeah, if
Oh,
something's
really? Getting out of hand.
getting out of hand, yes.
Oh, they call
And-
for backup and.
And we would assist. Yes.
Oh, all right. All right.
Same thing with any other law enforcement agency.
Well, let's talk about. Tell us about some of your specific on your beat or your area, your jurisdiction of the Bureau of Land Management type of events. You said you've had to go in. I mean, what kind of a vehicle do you drive around? I mean, it's desert. It's mountainous.
I drive a 4-wheel drive pickup truck,
Mm-hmm.
full size truck. Of course, it's got all the necessary equipment, winch. It's got a lift on it. We have to go to very remote places, and we're very independent. In other words, we have to have the equipment if something happens to get us out. Everything from water supply, food supply.
You have to have a good
shovels.
sense of direction.
Oh, yes, we do. That's very important in our job, how to read a map, GPS.
That's helpful.
You get training in all that.
Mm-hmm.
So public land is our primary responsibility, the health and welfare of the land.
Mm-hmm.
The public has trusted us to take care of.
Mm-hmm. Well, so 2 million acres, that's 1 million acres apiece between the two of you.
Yes, right now, yes.
Oh my goodness, that just seems unfathomable to
Well,
me.
the Bureau has over 250 million acres, the most of any agency in the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And we only have a little over 200 rangers total to patrol that.
Mm-hmm.
We do public safety, rescues and stuff like that, but our primary job, as in job description, is the preservation and the health of public land.
Well, there's a lot more people who go out here and get in trouble. Like I said, the day I met you, you came in from a search and rescue. What was that about? If you recall.
I believe the one you're talking about is an individual crashed his ATV and broke his ankle. And the way I found out about it was an ambulance came driving up and said, "We're looking for a guy." Okay, give me some information. And they gave me some routes. I said, "Okay, I know where that is." So
Oh.
we zoomed up. It was in northwest of Dove Springs. We zoomed up and we found him.
Mm-hmm.
He had a broken ankle. The ambulance took care of him and took him to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So
So most of the ranges here, the Rademacher Hills, B Mountain, is this all BLM territory? Some of it's the base, but which?
yes,
Okay.
most of it outside the base is public land,
Okay.
and a lot of the base is public land, which is entitled to the military for military use. So technically it is public land, but the military is using it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the 2 million plus acres is open to ordinary, regular U.S. citizens
Mm-hmm.
to recreate on.
Were you working by chance the day? I keep going back to this, but we're getting ready to take a break. Were you working the day they did apprehend and take down the gentleman at Inyokern?
Yes, I was working that day. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you were tracking with the whole event.
Actually, I just went off duty when they
my
when they
goodness.
got involved in
all that.
getting the suspect. Yes.
Well, we'll be right back after this break. Thank you. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk with Gonzo Chaidez of the Bureau of Land Management, Law Enforcement Ranger. So you've had some What are some of the most exciting things that have stuck out with you in your years in this area, aside from when you were down in El Centro?
Well, I don't know about exciting, but a lot of the stuff we take care of here are illegal dumps, and
Oh,
and one.
that's not exciting.
Uh, well, to an extent, it is because
Okay.
I'm looking for the person that did it.
Oh, right.
I find evidence in a dump site and track them down, and eventually cite them or arrest them, depending on the size of the dump.
Mm-hmm. They've
So
had to go out of their way to do that. Why? You have to wonder why they wouldn't have just taken it where
yes,
it needed to go. It must be lack of information. And so it's good to talk about this so that people can understand there are recycling places around to drop their
or the county dump, which is
waste.
free, and it's open 7 days a week.
And where is that?
It's on Bowman Road, on the western side of Bowman towards the 395.
Hmm.
So yes, I've informed people, please take your stuff to the dump.
The public lands are not the public dump.
No, it's not.
They're so
And
beautiful around here. It is sad to think that people do use it as a dump site, but
some do, yes.
and so you have to track these people down.
Yes.
And
I do track most of them down.
do you?
Yes.
What are sort of the giveaways?
I really can't tell you that.
Oh, okay. All
That's-
right. That's privy to the law enforcement rangers.
Yes.
Okay,
So-
unless you just follow the footprints.
Oh, there's many ways. There's
Uh-huh.
many ways.
I'll bet.
But the best way to not meet me is take it to the dump site,
Right.
the county dump.
Right.
And we also deal with a lot of off-road recreation. We
Okay.
have 3 off-road areas, the Spangler Hills, Dove Springs, Jawbone. And in between them, there's a lot of OHV trails. So we deal with a lot of off-road enforcement, not following the regulations or being in areas you're not supposed to be with an off-road vehicle.
Okay, so the BLM has an actual off-road enforcement.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that would have to do with getting off the trails
Yes.
and doing your own thing.
Not only getting off the trails, but destroying vegetation,
Mhm.
destroying natural areas.
Mhm.
Basically doing that type of stuff outside the OHV areas.
The marked areas.
Yeah.
Who marks those areas?
The BLM.
But who with the BLM marks those areas?
Well, in the BLM, it's many different branches, and
Okay.
I work for the law enforcement branch,
Mhm.
but it's all a team.
Sure.
So there's recreation operations, there's resources, there's administration, and then there's law enforcement.
Recreation marks the trails.
Operations.
Operations marks the
the
trails. Okay. All right. So you're not out there marking the trails, but you are watching to make sure,
But
enforce that they are staying on the trails as marked.
yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And so what are some other aspects of your job other than the waste and then making sure people are staying to the trails as marked? What else?
Well, we also do other, what we call details, going to other areas and assisting, including border operations. They have a lot of that going on in Arizona where,
Oh, have you been down there for that?
oh yeah, many times.
Oh, really?
We go all over the country, basically, where we are needed.
Mhm.
We assist other agencies, Forest Service, National Park Service, and in turn they assist us on big operations also. We have a big operation called Burning Man that's in northern Nevada.
Burning Man.
Yes.
What's that?
It's an event
Okay.
that's paid for by a permittee, and in order to have that event, they have to have law enforcement.
Okay.
And the
Well,
county.
what's the nature of that event?
It's
Strange name.
basically a big party.
It's a party.
Yeah.
Party event. Burning Man party.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So there's other
Never go-
operations that go on within the BLM that we go and assist. Fires. Fires is a big thing. Because
You work
they,
on putting out fires?
no, we work on protecting the firefighters
Okay.
and keeping people out of the fire areas.
Okay.
That's, matter of fact, we're pretty short right now on law enforcement officers. They're calling to get more help. As the fires grow,
Right.
they need to evacuate people. Well,
Right. What's the where is it out now? What are the areas?
Northern California right now is getting hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
So they've been asking for assistance, but we don't have
The
the
manpower.
resources.
Mm-hmm.
We barely have the manpower.
What haven't
for
I
here.
asked you that you would like to share with listeners? In our last minute, is there anything I haven't asked you? You wish people knew about your job? Or
Stay on the trails.
stay on the trails. That's your biggest peeve?
Yes. That's one of them, and using the county dump. That's the two biggest ones. You do both of those correctly, I won't be talking to you.
But it's nice talking to you, Gonzo. And I'm so glad you came by to share with us about your role as a law enforcement ranger. It's very interesting.
And it's an interesting job, yes.
Well, it's nice to like your job.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you'll come back and share with us again on Ridgecrest Talk about your role as a law enforcement ranger. Anytime you have something you'd like to share with us, welcome back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.